words and sounds of the Dharma, Buddha's teachings, like the beautiful song we just heard, can bring us great joy and inspiration. Chanting Amita's name reminds us of Amita's primal vow, that we can all eventually attain enlightenment. We are so fortunate to have been born human in this lifetime. Take this opportunity as a great gift of having the ability to reason and understand. Using one's mind to reason and understand the Dharma is a very important part of Buddhism. Investigating and studying the Dharma to learn about ways to end suffering is empowering and liberating. One of thousands of examples of the Dharma that is available to us is the Jataka tales, or translated directly, birth stories. I have been reading Jataka tales for about 10 years. I first discovered these wonderful stories when I was Director of Religious Education at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Reno. I used their beautiful illustrations and thought-provoking moral lessons to present a summer program to the children on Buddhism. So my own children have been listening to Jataka tales for most of their lives, and know many of them by heart. I have never delved into a Jataka tale this deeply before. It has been an invaluable learning opportunity for me. So I thank you for being here today and sharing this time and the Dharma together. Jataka tales are stories that are told by the Buddha over 2,500 years ago. These hundreds of legends form one of the sacred books of Buddhism. Originally, Jataka tales were discovered as carvings into railings around ancient stupas in India, indicating that the stories of the previous lives of the Buddha were widely known in the 3rd century BC and were then considered as part of the history of Buddhism. At first, the tales were probably handed down orally, as it is unknown when they were actually written down in a systematic format. We do know that Dharma Publishing in Berkeley, California, started translating these wonderful stories in the early 1970s so that children all around the world could benefit from their teachings. The tales focus on the Buddha's many lifetimes in many different life forms, embodying great beings such as a lion, a deer, a goose, an ape, a rabbit, a sea captain, a prince, just to name a few. All of these great beings emphasize taking positive action for the sake of another, giving wisdom, compassion, and love without the expectation of being rewarded. So to reflect on the story of the wise ape that Reverend Bill read so beautifully a few minutes ago, let's look at the character of the farmer. The farmer represents the flawed, greedy, and weak nature that all humans possess. This farmer was foolish enough to lose his way, searching for one of his cows, and put himself in a life-threatening situation, wandering in an unfamiliar and dangerous forest with no food. It was his attachment to the cow that led him into the forest, unprepared for the difficulties. Attachment leads to suffering, which certainly happened to the farmer. After hours of searching for his lost cow, he notices some sour fruit lying on the ground and eats it. Unsatisfied, though, his hunger motivates him to climb the fruit tree in search for more. Spying the ripest golden-colored fruit on the end of a branch that hangs out over a cliff leads the farmer to a choice. Now we can see that he could probably eat less ripe fruit that was right within easy reach for him, or go for the beautiful ripe fruit and risk his life. And by the way, what about his lost cow? Instead of being satisfied with some less ripe fruit and playing it safe, the farmer decides in a moment of greed to risk his life to obtain the sweeter fruit. Here again, the farmer's mind becomes attached to the golden, unreachable fruit. He does not follow the eightfold path of right thought, right conduct, right effort, and right mindfulness. His poor decision based on greed had an immediate and perilous consequence. The branch breaks, and he falls, almost certainly to his death. But no, he was miraculously saved by falling on the broken branch Surviving alone in a dark pit is something to ponder. We all at times in our lives fall into a metaphorical dark pit and feel alone and miserable. We can feel helpless, friendless, and powerless. It is not healthy to remain in this mental state for very long. We all seek balance in our lives. How do we handle our despair? How does Jodo Shinshu Buddhism help us to get out of the dark pit? Chanting Amita's name, Nam Amida Butsu, and Nama Yabu, and offer a calming state of mind. All of Amida Buddha's virtues, life and light, are embodied in the name Amida Buddha, which means oneness, life itself, great compassion, true nature, or immeasurable life and light. And it is your true and real self. Chanting Amida's name with a pure heart can lead to awareness of other power. Other power, or tariki in Japanese, means that which is other than your self-centered ego. Other does not mean a spiritual power or an object external to yourself, like a god, but refers to your true self, interconnected with all living things, the wonder of life itself, the oneness of life itself. The universe accepts you as you are unconditionally. Let Amida, infinite life, take your hands away from your eyes so you can see things as they truly are and not what you think they may be. You do not have to live in darkness and suffering like the dark pit the farmer finds himself in. The farmer was only listening to his self-power, telling him he was alone and had no friends when he was in the pit. Had he been in touch with other power, he would have been at peace, knowing that he is part of a grand universe of living beings, past, present, and future. Perhaps the great being sensed the distressing energy in his forest. Fortunately for the farmer, along comes the great ape, a true bodhisattva, embodying love, wisdom, strength, courage, and selfless compassion, qualities that are inside all of us. The great ape is an enlightened being and is willing to help rescue the farmer from his hopeless situation. Now, I particularly love the next part where the great ape really wants to do a good job and try to rescue the farmer, so he goes to practice. And I'm a very practical person, and I really related to this part of the story where he goes and straps on a rock to his back, and he climbs up and down the slope and feels confident that he can do it. There's another Jataka tale about a wise deer who does the same thing when a hunter tries to shoot him, and the hunter falls into a ravine and needs to be rescued. And the deer does the same thing, strapping a stone to his back. So that's a very special part, and it really says a lot for the great ape that if he couldn't be successful doing it, he probably wouldn't have helped get the farmer out of the pit, because that is too extreme. It's not really the middle path. He wouldn't want to risk his own death doing that. After all of the stone carrying practice and the successful yet exhausting rescue, the weary ape needs to sleep and asks the farmer to watch out for both of them in that dangerous part of the forest. The ape gives the farmer an opportunity to do good and to care for another living being. The farmer has a choice to do the right thing here and stand guard, or to listen to his greedy, self-serving ego and commit another act, an evil act. Had the farmer taken a moment to feel gratitude and oneness towards the great ape for his selfless act, gratitude for his spared life, then perhaps his thoughts would not have turned dark and selfish. Choosing to kill and eat, even eat, the great ape by bludgeoning him with a stone while he slept was one of the worst decisions the farmer could have made and would result in great suffering, because it is the same as killing himself. Through the compassion farmer did not succeed in killing him. But as the great being said, having been saved from one dark pit, you have fallen into another. You have ruined yourself. No one has the power to erase that deed. Let's take a moment here to look at no one has the power to erase that deed. No one individual has the power to erase evil deeds. Bad acts aren't erased. They are combined with all of the universe's good and bad deeds and transformed into enlightenment. It is the belief of Shin Buddhists that the 48 vows of Amida Buddha, the primal vow, is a primordial promise of Amida to care for and liberate the weak, fragile, and suffering, regardless of moral or economic status, race, or gender. Amida's vow manifests the fulfillment of its ancient promise in the minds of human beings through Shinjin, true and trusting, and chanting the Nimbutsu. Nam Amida Butsu. Shin Buddhist path does offer the farmer and all of us a way out of the darkness of wrongdoing. Continuing on, out of compassion, the great ape led the farmer to safety and advised him to avoid evil actions from then on. However, the farmer's karma resulted in an immediate reaction to him in the form of ugly, disfiguring sores all over his body, a permanent reminder of how he ruined himself through his evil act against a great being. In the end, after enduring much suffering, the farmer realized the karmic consequence from his evil act and gave this wise advice to the king. He says to the king, filling your mind with love and acting kindly towards all living beings will gain their trust, and as a result, your life will be peaceful and happy. This advice apparently had a good effect on the king, who in turn treated his subjects with kindness for the rest of his life. It is very clear that the farmer's self-centeredness and greed is the root of all of his problems. Focusing the mind on self-power instead of other power creates the I, me, my, mine mindset that separates you from the whole. Our minds create our reality. So if we create loving, compassionate relationships in our lives and see everything as one, that is how our reality will become. The farmer slowly began to change his mindset by offering kindness and compassion to the king. This was the beginning of his transformation. The unwholesome deeds he had done in his past and his brief but profound relationship with the great being resulted in significant personal growth. If you are truly devoted to the positive growth and transformation of others, your life will bear beautiful golden fruit for yourself and everyone you come in contact with. We need to train our minds to develop an altruistic attitude towards others. This attitude will benefit your health and bring you happiness. This transformation of your mind to cherish others happens slowly through training your mind. You will see some results that lead to inspiration and leading to more transformation and more effort and more understanding and on until you are completely free. Free from your self-power and at one with other power. Author Taitetsu Uno writes in his book, Bits of Rubble Turn into Gold, that Buddhism is a path of supreme optimism. For one of its basic tenets is that no human life or experience is to be wasted, abandoned, or forgotten, but all should be transformed into a source of vibrant life, deep wisdom, and compassionate living. This transformation expresses the boundless compassion and non-judgmental, all-inclusive that is the moving force in the Buddhist tradition. The following metaphor comes from the same book as a quote from Zhu Ning, the Chinese Pure Land master of the 8th century, who proclaims the working of boundless compassion of Amida Buddha. When beings hear my name and think on me, I will come to welcome each of them, not discriminating at all between the poor and the rich and the well-born, not not choosing the learned and those upholding pure precepts, nor rejecting those who break